Hi everybody, it's Oksana, and today I'm going to show you how to make this pendant here. It is a wire wrapped cabochon. I'm using a labradorite teardrop shaped cabochon, and I'm using copper wire, so you're going to see it looking a lot brighter. When I'm working with it, I have oxidized it, and so here's what it looks like when it's all oxidized. But basically a cabochon, if you don't know, it's just an undrilled stone. It doesn't have any holes in it, so we are securing it entirely with wire, basically by trapping it in the wire, kind of building a cage, so to speak, for it. And before we get started, I just want to quickly mention my Facebook page, which is facebook.com/OksanaCrafts, exactly the same as it is written here on my YouTube channel name. So if you want to check that out and like my page and support me, then I would really greatly appreciate that. And I also want to quickly mention that I do have tutorials on how to wrap drilled beads. So beads that have a hole all the way through, beads that have a hole in the top, front drilled beads, so the top front to back. I have a tutorial on that. I have a tutorial on beads that are drilled at the top side to side. And I will leave my playlist below so you can find those. But now finally I'm happy to bring you a tutorial on a stone that is not drilled. So if you want to see how to make this pendant, then keep watching. So I'm starting with 5 base wires. These are 20 gauge wires. And I'm just using bare copper because I'm going to oxidize it, but you can use, the colored craft wire. That works fine too. So 5 base wires, mine are about 9 inches. That's too much, but I like to have extra to work with and then just trim off the excess at the end. This is a spring clamp that you can get at a hardware store. You can also hold your wires with tape or with your fingers. I left myself about 2 inches and then I clamped it down. And now I'm going to use my weaving wire, which is 28 gauge. And you can do whatever pattern that you want. I have a tutorial on a really pretty pattern that you could do with 5 wires, but that one's kind of takes a long time, so I'm going to do this one. It's a little quicker. So I'm putting in my wire right above the bottom 2, and I'm making a loop and another loop. So 2 loops. I know it's hard to see right now, but once it gets further up, you'll be able to see it. Now I'm bringing it up against up above the 3rd wire, and then 2 wires down. So basically I'm doing 2, 2, 2 all the way up. If you can see that, just you're doing 2 loops around 2 wires, and then you're going all the way up. So for 5 wires, you're going to have to do that 4 times. So 1, 2, 3, and then this is my 4th. And then that will get you to the top. Alright, so now I'm at the top, and you can tighten those up in a little bit. I'll do that. So now, same thing, just going down. My wires are a little twisted here. So 2. This time though, you're not doing the top, since you already did the top. You're just doing the next 2, and you're going down that way. Oh, getting all twisted here. So this is what it's going to look like. I am going to continue and do this for about the length of one side of my stone. So from the tip, if you were to bend this wire, once it gets long, start bending it to the shape. I want it to start about here, be able to go up the side, and then to here. This is how long I want my weave to be. So that's what I'm going to do, and then I'll come back. Alright, so mine is roughly the length that I need. If you're not sure, make it just a tiny bit longer, and then you can unwrap it from the top. So anyways, now I'm going to separate this out. I'm going to have 2 wires kind of going to the back like this. And this doesn't quite matter yet, their positioning. We're going to position them later, but you do want to start bending this this roughly to the shape of your stone. So here's my stone. This is how it's going to go. The key to trapping a cabochon in wire, you're basically building a cage around it, and you don't want this part in the front to be wide for this to slip out. You want this to go on the edge of your stone. So you are covering up, a part of your stone is kind of the downside to this, but that's really the only way to successfully trap it. So what I'm going to do now is I have 2 wires going in the back here, and I have 3 wires on the side. So I'm just going to weave around these 3 wires, and you can do whatever pattern that you want, but I'm going to do the same thing that I've been doing, just around 3 wires. So 2 loops around the bottom 2, and then 2 loops around the top 2, and just keep going that way. I'll zoom in 1 second so you can see that. So I'm just going to go with that to the point where this side and this side can meet together right here at this top. You don't want it to be a lot higher than the top, because if you have this coming up higher, the stone's going to fall out. Like, we are going to want to cover this top part. So go till right here, like, see how this ends a little bit before the tip. So that's how you want the other side to go, so that when we connect it all, the stone's going to be trapped. So go ahead and go on this side, and I'll be right back. Alright, so here's what I did. I was just seeing if my stone fits. So I weaved on these 3 wires. We have these 2 coming out the back. I just kind of bent them. I put my stone in, and then I bent all the wires around my stone like this. Here's the back. So this is, good height, comes right at the top. So here's what you want to do now. You want to take, so this part with the 5 wires, go 1, 2, 3. 3 back wires. Move them out of the way. And the rest of your wires, we are going to gather tightly at the top. I'll go to the back. Alright, so here in the back we have the 2 wires coming up. I'm going to take one of them, pull it towards me. I'm gathering the rest of my wires tightly. Very tightly. Make sure that your stone is sitting in there nicely, because now this is going to be us securing the stone, and we'll secure it a little more too, but this is just kind of the beginning of that. So you want to take this wire that you have, and you want to wrap it. It's hard to do on camera, but you want to hold the top tight as you wrap this wire around the top. See what I'm doing here? And just like 2 or 3 times, it doesn't really matter. But now our stone is kind of secure. It can be a little wobbly in the back sometimes, since you just have these 2 skinny wires holding it in place. I'm gonna cut this little tail off. I should have done that earlier, but the one that from the very, very beginning, while I can still reach it, I'm just gonna cut that off. Alright, so you can take your pliers, this little wrap that you did to secure, you can pinch that tight so that these really hold, and then it's going to start being a little less wobbly. And see how it's separating? I want that back together. And then see this wire, how it looks a little loose here. I'm going to pick that up and pinch that down like that. Alright, so here it is coming in the back. So this wire ended up being a little longer due to the way that we wrapped it. So what I'm going to do now is kind of have it switch places with the other wire, if that makes sense. So I'm taking the other wire and I'm bending it that way, and then I'm taking this wire. And I mean, you can make like cool shapes and stuff with this, but I'm just doing something basic just so it holds my stone. Now the stone, if I press it, it's still a little wobbly, so we're still going to need to secure it a little more. But this is kind of the base of that. And now, so I have my 3 wires here. I have my weaving wire somewhere back here. So I'm going to take my weaving wire. It's kind of coming out the back. I'm pulling it. I'm going to bring it under this little end here. Bring it over here. And I want to weave around these 3 wires. So bring them to the front, and then you kind of have to twist them because they might be going in the wrong direction. Basically, all I'm going to do with these is I want to cover this up with a pretty weave. So it is optional. You can just cut these and make little loops out of them or something, but I just want to cover those up. So with my weaving wire, I'm just kind of bringing it around. I'm doing the same weave that I just did, where it's just 2 and 2 around the 3 wires. So the same thing that we just did on the side. And I'm just going to do that for a little while until it is enough to, you know, cover this. I'm just going to go kind of in the front here to cover that up. So I'll see you guys in one sec. Alright, so here's what I have going on here. So I just kind of bent this right around the front to cover up that part, and then here it is here. And then as you can see, I did just a few single wraps right here. This is all, you know, subjective, however you want your decoration to go. I'm just going to make some curly swirls. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to cut these front 2, and I am going to use my round nose pliers just to curl them so they look pretty. So I'm going to start with this one. And then I'm going to do, oops, sorry, I hope that focuses. I'm going to do this one. I'm going to bring it forward, and then I'm curling it in the opposite direction. So kind of this way. Okay, so like that. Just decoration, basically. You can try and like tilt it a little bit so you can see the curls more. So this wire here, here's what I'm going to do with it. I'm having it come in the back, and I'm having it go underneath this closest, the wire that's closest to this wire, basically. So see if you can get it under, like that. And then if it's real long, you can cut it. I'm going to cut it just a little bit, like that. You want to leave yourself an end to grab onto. Grabbing onto this end, and looping it around that way. Then you can take your pliers if you want to, because right now it's sticking up. If you want it to be a little, like a little tighter, a little flatter, you can just play around with your pliers to get it how you want it. Anyways, so that basically secures this part. That's what that looks like. So now we're going to work on our bail. There is a lot of wires going on here. We've got 6 wires. Alright, so you can do whatever you want with the bail. If you want to do a huge 6-wire bail, if you want to kind of bend some of these back, curl them, you know, use them for decoration. This is an extra wire we have in the back here. This is the one that we went around with. You can just kind of pull it down so it's out of your way. What I am going to do, let me think here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get rid of a few of these wires. by bringing them to the back, just because I don't want to use necessarily all of them for my bail. So I think 4 is what I want to use for my bail. So the other 2, you just kind of see which ones are better to bring to the back. So don't forget about this one. Keep this to the side. Don't confuse it with the other 2. So I brought these 2 down, and basically you can do the same thing as we did here. You can just secure it around something, or you can just leave them. I'm just going to leave them for now, and then I will address them later. So now you can wrap around these 4 wires. I'm just going to try and stick with the same weave that I've been doing, which is the 2 and 2. So I'm just going to stick with that and do that around these 4 wires. And they are a little bit, you know, not flat, because they're all coming from different directions here. So you can use some pliers or some nylon pliers, and then once you got your weave going, you can, you know, really push it down to make it look pretty. But basically I'm going to go for a little bit until I'm happy with the height of my bail. Keep in mind you're going to be folding this down, so you know, make it however long you want your bail to be, and then I'll be right back to show you what to do next. Alright, so here's my bail. I bent it forward a little bit, just kind of made a rounded shape, brought it back. Here's what it looks like. Then we have these 3 wires that were here just like this. This is the one we wrapped around with, and these are the 2 that we just kind of brought to the back because I don't want so many wires for the bail. So I'm taking this one because it's nice and long. I'm bringing it above all the other ones this way, and this is optional, but basically what I'm trying to do is I'm gonna weave a single weave around it, and then I'm gonna push it through this hole right here and bring it right here, because I don't really like this gap. You can still see a little bit of this, and I just want to cover that up, make another little decorative curl. So that's what I'm going to do here. Alright, so here it is. I pushed it through this little hole. I have it coming up here. Again, this is just purely for decoration. I cut it. Now I'm going to make a little decorative loop with it by using my round nose pliers. Like that. And we're done with the front. Alright, so now coming to the back here, we have these 2 wires that are not part of the bail. This is the one that went around. And then we have the bail. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to put this one on one side of the bail. Sorry, I cut my wire, but I never pinched it down. Let me just do that really quickly. Alright, so I'm going to put one on either side, and I'm going to cross them like this. This is just one option. And then what I'm going to do is take my round nose pliers, and you might need to lift this up if you can. If you can't slide this wire under, you might need to take like a little pick or something, or your nail, and try to lift that up. Here we go. The wire's coming in under. So I'm pulling that. I want it to be relatively tight. Like that. And then I'm going to do the same thing here. I'm going to cut that end in 1 second. I'm going to do the same thing here. Oops. Alright. So now, sorry. So now I'm going to cut the excess, and I'm just going to make a little curl. Make sure that the ends, like see the little wire end, I always curl it so it ends up on the bottom. so there's no chance of it, you know, scratching you or anything like that. And then you can kind of get them more flat and, you know, turn them with your pliers, make them smaller or, you know, nicer looking, whatever. Play around with that later. Or maybe I'm playing around with it now. I just want to fix this one real quick. All right. So now we have 4 ends here. And I know this isn't like the prettiest looking back, but hey, it works and it holds everything secure. And that's what matters. So here's what I like to do with these wires. Here is I cut them. Not like super ridiculously short, but just so they're not really long. And then I just curl them. My round nose pliers and just make some pretty looking curls. This one is ending up kind of wrapped around this wire, which is fine. You can do that for extra kind of security. You can, you know, actually that looks kind of pretty. That makes it look prettier. I was just going to curl them and leave them curled. But I think now I'm going to make them go around these wires, because that makes it look kind of better. Like that. And you can take your pliers. I just want to straighten these out a little bit, especially this one. There we go. All right. So that's the back, and here's our front. And the stone is very secure in here now. If you get this gap, see this gap? Sometimes it happens just because you didn't bend the wire flat enough. I like to press, and I can't do this now on camera with my thumb, but a hard surface like your table or something, say my hand is the table, and you just, you know, press it and kind of roll it, and that'll get rid of that gap for you. So here is what it looks like, and I'm just going to oxidize it. If, you know, you watched the beginning of this video, then you saw what it looks like oxidized. I'm not going to show that portion again, but basically, if you've never done it before, it's really quick and easy. Nicole Hanna has a really good tutorial on using liver of sulfur. It's really easy. I got my liver of sulfur gel on Amazon for under $10, and you just take a glass of hot water, like not boiling hot, but hot from the tap. You put a few drops. You either use gloves or you use some kind of tweezers or something that you can hold this with. You dip it in, shake it, or drop it, shake it all around in there. It's going to turn completely black, the copper. Take it out, rinse it off. Don't dump your liver of sulfur down the drain. It'll oxidize your pipes. So you want to put a little baking soda in there, or just leave it. I just leave mine outdoors, like out of reach of everybody, until it turns clear, and then you can just dump it on the ground or down your drain or whatever you want. But basically that's how you oxidize things. And then you take a little bit of steel wool, just a little piece, and you just rub it. I like to do it under running water. That's going to get rid of some of the black and make it, you know, kind of more three-dimensional looking, make it dark and, you know, light, some highlights on the top. But that's about it. That's how you oxidize it. And that's it. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye.